What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbein, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talker. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers made a very interesting move last night, one that is definitely more interesting than the wide receiver 24 hours earlier. We're diving not even 4 hours earlier. What are the Steelers doing? We'll dive into that. Plus an absolutely insane defensive stat, TJ Watt stat that has emerged on the internet today. And it's Wednesday, which means what's more likely? Wednesday is coming right at you. I'm excited for it. It's a beautiful one here in the Berg. I got my coffee. I got my boy. How we feeling, my friend?
Feeling good, man. I'm trying a new soda today. It's a Sprite Zero Sugar with cherry lime sort of flavor going on. I don't know if there's any
That's so much going on there.
Pack. There's like 48 different flavors, names, colors. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overstimulated, but I'll push through if it's a nice, tasty, refreshing drink. So I'll have a full review posted on my side page, Jake Reviews Sodas, and you'll hear all about it. Just kidding. But I'll let you guys know if it's good or bad throughout the episode.
You should actually start a soda review channel. That is something I think I and the rest of the Picnic Pack would be very interested in. I'm not going to act like that wouldn't slap. It'd be pretty awesome. That soda does sound like it's got 400 flavors and 75 different things going on. It sounds like me and my Starbucks order. Shout out to the people who can remember it every time I order it. Let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football. Before we get kicking, I do want to take a quick moment here to just honor the life and a great person in Dale Lawley, a good friend, at times a mentor, somebody who gave me some of the best advice I ever got as a young journalist. Today was a tough one for everybody in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization as he passed away. I'll say it, a million other people say cancer sucks, man. It'll continue to suck. But Dale was a fighter, which was awesome throughout the entire thing. The dude showed up, had a smile on his face, a joke to crack, which was so cool. And still to this day, you wish you could give flowers when they're here. But he changed my journalistic career in ways that I don't really, he wouldn't want me to share the conversations we've had. And I'll keep those between us. But I will say, man, dude, like when I look back, I tell people constantly, like, that dude gave me some words of wisdom that made me the journalist I am today, which is awesome. So, rest easy to Dale. Condolences to his kids and his wife and the rest of his loved ones. And just make sure that everybody is telling their loved ones that they love them a little bit stronger today in honor of him. Let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football here. The Steelers yesterday, we talked Isaiah Hodgins, which I won't lie, I did a whole podcast episode yesterday with you, then did another one on the Steelers to go, and I called this man Isaiah Hodges the entire time through both episodes. That is not his last name. It's Hodgins. I don't know where I got that from. Again, pretty sure it was the NCIS reference that was running through my head. Later that night, they made a signing that might actually be impactful to this organization this season. They went out and they signed former New England Patriots inside linebacker Juwan Bentley, a guy who has 68 starts, 509 tackles under his belt, who started last season up until week 2 when he tore his pectoral. I think 17 games the year before that, 16 the year before that. He's a veteran at 29 years old who has plenty of experience in this league. Talked to him today, and one of the first questions was, yeah, man, you're definitely a little bit higher priced than a practice squad guy. Why are you here? Do you think there's an opportunity? And he just said, I hope so. I'm going to work every single day and we're going to see what happens, but he feels good about the place that he's in. I think a much bigger signing than many that they've made in the last couple of weeks. Your thoughts on Juwan Bentley coming to Pittsburgh, joining an inside linebacker room that definitely needs help. Let's not act as if Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson and Cole Holcomb have been just perfect through 2 games. They have struggled quite a bit. This is a guy that comes in here as a run stuffer, a bigger body. What's your thoughts on him?
Well, I mean, you nailed it there when you said and you mentioned run stuffer. You mentioned someone who is a sure tackler. By my quick little research here, 4 seasons of 90 plus tackles as a starting middle linebacker. That tells me that's a player who is probably a little bit more efficient in run defense and just probably downhill tackling than the Pittsburgh Steelers have received through the first 2 weeks. So it's a great depth addition more than anything. And I think it really is going to push more than anyone else on this roster, Peyton Wilson. I think he entered this season with lofty expectations and with a very cushioned spot as one of the starting middle linebackers. And I don't expect, there to be an immediate competition or snaps going away, but I like that the Steelers aren't wasting time bringing in alternatives. We've asked for them to do it, talked about the potential of them doing it in basically every position throughout the team at one
Yes.
point or another offseason and the start of the season. So it's probably going to happen with the middle linebacking group as well. And Juwan Bentley, is legitimate competition. And so if Peyton Wilson now has an extra spark, even better. The Steelers want him to find that next level in his game. If not, now you have two veterans, two players behind him who have starting experience in the NFL in Bentley and Cole Holcomb. So can't be too mad about the addition. I'm hopeful that him not signing with an NFL team earlier in the offseason and training camp, was to his benefit. Now he is 100% and then some and can be an immediate impact player for the Pittsburgh Steelers when they elevate him to the active roster. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
And I think we might be looking at a guy who's going to earn some reps, hopefully sooner rather than later for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I agree. I mean, there's no chance this guy spends the season on the practice squad. It just doesn't make any sense to have a guy like that spend the season on the practice squad. Like you said, he did actually. He confirmed that he had other opportunities to go elsewhere, chose to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, felt like this was the organization he wanted to be in. Great. And that's a move that the Pittsburgh Steelers should feel really good about. I'll lay it out there. I think that it puts Carson Bruner's the first name like in jeopardy of keeping his job, because you got to look at it and say, why would you keep a 7th-round rookie when you have a long-term starter sitting there ready to go, chomping at the bit, who's healthy, who could add to the run game, which is the biggest part of this. The Steelers went out yesterday. We were talking about, the Steelers need to go out and they need to get somebody that helps somewhere. And we were talking wide receiver. All right, well, now let's talk inside linebacker and let's talk running game. The Steelers saw a clear need in the running game on defense. They went out and they got a guy that's what he excels in. He excels in being a downhill thumper, which is what they are missing. He comes in here, and again, like I don't know when it's going to happen. I'll ask you that one next, but I do think at some point he is on the 53-man roster. It makes no sense for him to not be on the 53-man roster. And he's able to come in here and make an impact. Plus, they elevated John Radigan. I think that's how you say his last name. Last week, which means that they want the space there. I think that for right now, my guess would be Juwan Bentley eventually becomes a part of the 53-man roster. Then he becomes the part of the 53-man roster when Malik Harrison comes back and Carson Bruner ends up on the practice squad. How quickly do you think Bentley could find himself on Pittsburgh's 53-man team?
Okay, so I think I must be a little bit more cautious with this approach because I view Juwan Bentley similarly to how I viewed Jabril Peppers last week, which is like this is not a player like a Carson Bruner or someone who has little experience or is really proving their worth or role in the NFL. With
Yeah.
Bentley and with Jabril Peppers, these are guys who have started in the NFL. How much ramp up time can they actually need? For me, it feels like a no brainer to have them in the 53-man roster immediately. I think it would make more sense to have Juwan Bentley as a part of the active roster against the New England Patriots than it would to have Carson Bruner. That being said, I think the Steelers are notoriously slow and cautious with these sorts of things. They approach so many parts of development and team chemistry with a very patient mindset. I'd be shocked if Bentley is actually a part of the 53-man roster this upcoming week. That being said, I think after probably the Minnesota game is on the table, and if that is not the case, he better be a part of the 53-man roster coming out of the bye week against the Bengals or Browns or whoever that week 6 matchup is. Because again,
Yeah.
what purpose does he serve on the practice squad when you have, Carson Bruner there, who, might be a good player eventually, but he's a 7th round pick,
No.
basically just occupying a locker, like so I don't really understand what the point is if you have a guy who has recorded 4 seasons of 90 plus tackles recently.
Yeah, no, look at I agree. Like, you're not gonna. It doesn't make any sense. I have look at Carson Bruner is a good guy. I like the legacy thing. It doesn't make any sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers to keep him on the roster over other guys who deserve on the roster. Mark Robinson, yeah, I got that one. Okay, sounds good. Do I think that Mark Robinson was better? Yes. Do I think that is very alarming for Carson Bruner and what he should be on this team? Also, yes. So I'm looking at it and saying, Juwan Bentley, in my eyes, like, people will overlook it because it goes to the practice squad. I think that's a significant signing. Like, I think it's a pretty big move for the Steelers defense in a time where they need big move. They can't go out and get you're not going out to get a new nose tackle. You're not going out to replace Joey Porter Jr. You already brought in Jabril Peppers to eventually be a starting safety. Like, this is a significant addition to the linebacking core. And I get he's going to start on the practice squad, but that's because he's a vetted veteran, which means that you could put him on the practice squad. You don't have to guarantee him any money. And then you can make a move to bring him onto the 53 once he's ready. And for the time being, keep your guy and Carson Bruner around. I think it's a very good signing. Let's stick to the defense. Let's talk about an absolutely wild stat that has emerged for the Pittsburgh Steelers and TJ Watt. I put out my Steelers to go yesterday about TJ Watt. It was like a 50-50 reaction of like, shut up, stop talking about TJ Watt. And like, yeah, where the hell is TJ Watt? What he's doing? What is he doing? Dan Orlovsky, former NFL quarterback, now with ESPN, put out a pretty crazy stat on how teams are moving away from TJ Watt this season through 2 games. Rushing attempts away from TJ Watt, there have been 34 of them. Those rushers, they've averaged 6 yards per rush through 2 weeks. 13 times that teams have run at TJ Watt, they have averaged 2.5 yards per rush. You could look at that in one of 2 ways. You could look at it and say, that means TJ's still stud. Or you could look at it and say, why the hell is the Steelers defense not trying to work themselves out so that TJ Watt and the opposite of TJ Watt are either equally as strong or able to maneuver themselves, disguise themselves in some sort of way to where you're not as lopsided as 34-13 in rushing attempts, which people will say that's impossible. Go watch what Micah Parsons did in Green Bay against the Detroit Lions, because that man, Penei Sewell, is able to play both sides of the line when needed. That's the best thing about Penei Sewell. Micah Parsons would follow him. He would mirror an offensive tackle to say, I will make sure that I'm on the strong side at all times to make sure that I'm here to rush. It's possible. It's about figuring out how to do it. You saw that stat. The rest of the world saw that stat. What were your thoughts? Is there a way, like, can you figure it out? Is there a way that 2 dudes sitting on a computer right now could figure out how to fix this thing? Or is this just a stat that is just scary and the Steelers might be in a lot of trouble?
I mean, it's certainly scary. I don't think, sure, 2 guys on a computer probably don't have the solution. I will grant you that, my friend. What I
Yes.
think seems painfully apparent and that we all continue to sort of like hammer home and repeat is that there's no reason for TJ Watt, who is absolutely undeniably the reason why the rushes to his side are going for 2.5 yards per rush or whatever that number is that you just said. It's because he is able to seal the gap and he is able to make tackles or set up one of his teammates to make an easy one. Why not just have him more freely going from each side just to see if that has any
Yes.
effect? I don't know if it will. And that's what I mean by saying I don't know if we have the solution, but you've never, ever tried it. 99 out of 103 snaps he's lined up left to center this year so far. How do you tell me that you're incorporating this just to see? 4 snaps is not a real sample size if 99 other snaps on the other side of it is the, other metric you're comparing it to. Doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I don't
Yep.
know if it's the actual answer, if it will produce anything, but it is very telling whenever you have Cam Hayward, who, according to PFF, takes a lot of his snaps on the right side of center. He's
Yep.
their best run defender on that side of the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
You can stack one side and then you can kind of counterbalance it on the other side. You have all of these names. You have this all-star defense. You can't figure out how to positionally align them to make sure you're stopping both sides equally. I just think it's worth mixing it up, mixing and matching. It's week 3. You have nothing to lose, and your defense is in a pretty poor state. Why not try to get creative and mix it up to see if anything creates that spark?
Dude, I 100% agree. There's no part of the Steelers defense and what the Steelers have done that should tell anybody that TJ Watt should be primarily on any side. Cam Hayward should be primarily on any side. This is not a dominant enough defense. You don't have the tools right now to say everybody lines up where they need to line up and it just works out. No, you can't say that. Your nose tackle is atrocious. You know what I mean? I have a lot of faith in Keanu Benton as a player. I have zero faith in him as a nose tackle. Y.E. Black should be playing nose tackle, because if you go back and watch the film, which I did Tuesday night, dude, and it's bad, brother. It's so bad on defense. You want to talk my biggest takeaway from rewatching the film was that Peyton Wilson played pretty well. He actually did. It was not easy for either of the inside linebackers to do anything because Keanu Benton was in their lap the entire game. Like the entire game, Keanu Benton is 3 yards back from the line of scrimmage. That's not good. You have to maneuver, guys. You have to figure out how to rotate your best players. And if they're just stale, stagnant players, the NFL is revolving or is growing around them. It's getting way too complicated for them to exist and succeed. That's like the bottom line. It's the Steelers ignoring having a bell cow for years through the Le'Veon Bell, D'Angelo Williams stuff, when everybody is screaming from the stand saying use them both so that Le'Veon stays healthy, and they won't do it. Now it's you got to move TJ. You got to move Cam Hayward. And if you can't do that, you will not succeed, because the NFL is getting way too smart and way too calculated for you to say TJ's just going to rush from one side and everything's going to be fine. That's not going to be the case. The Steelers are going to be in a lot of trouble if they don't change it around. What's your confidence level that they will? Do you have a confidence level that they will at some point recognize that this is just, somebody tossed in the chat malpractice? It's coaching malpractice. At what point? And do you have faith that they will stop this?
Yes, but it is like water going down the drain of a bathtub. Like you can see it going down very quickly. Like they have the pieces. They have lots of reasons for me to continue having optimism just in like the individual parts, but the totality of those individual parts are just I am losing faith very quickly that they can put it all together. And I know we're going into week 3. There's so much of this season left. I really don't want to write this entire team off before anything real has even been established, right? Like I don't want to be that crazy alarmist in that regard. But it is hard to if the stubbornness is going to continue and there is going to be no attempts to find a solution, I don't think that I can hang on to that optimism for very long. I'm willing to for a while longer, but it will fade by mid-season. Like at that point I'll be like, we're done. But
no,
week 3, not yet. I'll give it till mid-season.
I to be honest with you, I'll give it till week 4. You go through week 4 if there's no chance, just because like what in Mike Tomlin's career has ever showed us that halfway through the year he's like, oh, you know what, we got to actually change some things. That's actually gotta happen. Like it takes 4 years before Mike Tomlin's like, we should probably adjust this. We should probably change this up. So if there's no like if there's no recognition right off the bat pretty early in the year, I have a hard time thinking that that recognition is going to come. I hear what you're saying. I appreciate the optimism. My optimism is not, it's just not nearly as strong. It's just not, it's not. And don't get me wrong. I'm optimistic that the Steelers could turn a lot of things around. But it's been 6 months of talking about TJ Watt playing both sides of the football. And then 6 months of us being like, when is it going to happen? You know, like we're talking a lot about it. It doesn't seem to be an actual thing that the Steelers are doing. All right. Let's try to pump this thing up. Let's try to get these things, the energy flowing in a little bit more of a positive direction as we move through this. What are you doing Wednesday? It's What's More Likely Wednesday. I am pretty excited for what I got in store for you. I got a 4-pack of What's More Likely. I'm going to try to keep them optimistic. I'm not going to lie to you. Not all of them are, but we're going to do our best to keep this thing flowing in the right and the positive direction, because it's only week 2, my friend. It's only week 2. I've been juicing these up all day. I was driving to the facility thinking of them. I can only think of 2. I was coming back. I thought of the other 2, so I'm ready to go. They're fresh in the mind as we get through this 4-pack of What's More Likely Wednesdays. We're going to start with the new man on campus here. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they went out and they added a new linebacker that has a lot of starting experience in the NFL. Right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, it needs help. It needs a lot of help. What's more likely? Juwan Bentley spends more weeks this season on the practice squad or in the Steelers starting lineup?
You know, why make it easy, right? Why make it
Never. That's not my job.
Never. That's what are you doing Wednesday? The point is to embrace the difficult decisions here, the difficult questions. That's what we do.
That's what we do.
I'm stalling because this is such a difficult question. My answer is, sadly, I'm a pessimist to start, and I promise I'll try. I think it's practice squad. Because if you would have just said 53-man roster or practice squad, I think I would say the active roster. I think it's going to be a long road, even though we might start saying it now and maybe have recognized what needs to happen, and maybe that will continue. Maybe the inside linebacking room doesn't improve. I find it hard to believe that Juwan Bentley starts more than 8 games, 10 games. I think he could spend 6 to 8 weeks on the practice squad. I don't want to see that happen. That's not a prediction. I think I just, I said the pessimism was going to come out for this one, and I'll try to rein it in for number 2. But I think to answer your first question, I think it's more likely that he spends more time on the practice squad. I'm so sorry.
No, dude, I saw it coming and I tried to set you up for failure and I won, because that is what my job is every single day. Love Patrick Queen. I love Peyton Wilson. I think they're both going to be just fine. Juwan Bentley, maybe linebacker 3 by the end of the year. Who knows? Although I'm a big fan of Cole Holcomb and what he could bring as well. Let's flip it over to the offensive side of the ball. Today, I was talking to Aaron Rodgers. We were all talking to Aaron Rodgers, and he had a lot of good things to say. He had a lot of nothing to say. He also didn't acknowledge whether or not he's going to be on the Pat McAfee show. And this isn't about the Pat McAfee show. Don't worry about it. Aaron Rodgers, though, also said that Jaylen Warren could be a running back 1 on most teams in the NFL. Most clubs, Jaylen Warren would be an RB1 in. Some would argue against that. What's more likely? Jaylen Warren finishes this season in the top 15 of NFL starting rushers, or in the bottom 5 in rushing yards. I didn't even give you a crazy number. Top 15, top half. All he's got to be is 15. Top half.
That's it. And that's, all you have to, that's the best way to put it, Noah, truly. All he has to do is just clear the bar, just be better than half of the field. It's been a rocky 2 weeks. I'm, like Aaron Rodgers, a believer in what Jaylen Warren is capable of. I
Yes, sir.
think he is very talented and multifaceted in what he brings to an offense. I think he can be 14th in the league this year. I think he can be 13th or 12th or 11th or
Woo-hoo!
10th.
That's top
I'd be
15.
shocked if it's top 15. I'd be shocked if he's top 10, and I would be shocked if he's bottom 5. I can really see him sitting somewhere comfortably in the middle, and we're talking about, hey, just decent year from Jalen Warren. He really can be solid. I understand there's reason for pessimism right now, but I would like to believe that he can come around. So I think it's more likely he's a
Love it.
top 15 running back in 2025.
I
Ooh, it's
love
getting
it.
crazy in here.
I love it. This is a Jalen Warren friendly show at all times. The guy does a lot of good things. He is very, very, very good. Aaron Rodgers, who's 41 years old, who's played 20 years in the NFL, had one other catch and run that he could compare Jalen Warren's 65-yard run to, and it was a Donald Driver run, catch and run that, if you go and watch the clip, is ridiculous. And all love to Jalen Warren, man. And this is not a, like, Aaron remembers crazy football stats. It's actually disgusting what his football memory is. To have one comparison to me was like, we just high praise. Shout out to good old J Money, Jalen Warren. I got a 3-1 here for you, or the third one here for you. The Steelers defense has been a problem through 2 weeks. 100% a problem. But the roster's loaded. They have everybody head to toe. This thing is stacked to the gills. They're dealing with injuries, but they're still pretty good. I'll keep this one simple and somewhat in the same boat. What's more likely? The Pittsburgh Steelers defense by the end of the season turns this thing around and finishes in the top 10 of points allowed, or they finish in the bottom 5 of points allowed. Right now, they are, I believe, I'll look it up, but they're averaging 31.5 points, or 30. Yeah. Yep. I was right. I was correct.
This is the first, I don't know if we said this so far this week, but this is the first time that they have allowed 30 points or more to start the year since Chuck Noll was head coach in 1989.
Yes.
So not the best start. Gosh, this is the biggest test of my optimism and pessimism tug of war happening right now. Things are so bad with the defense. How can you not foresee this trend continuing? But I'm trying so hard not to go down into the darkness. I'm trying to stay away from the void. I think it's more likely that they rise from the ashes like the griffin, and they find their way to the top and the most elite like they are supposed to do this year. I think that is way more likely than them just totally hitting rock bottom and becoming the worst defense or among the 5 worst defenses in 2025. I don't want to accept that could happen, and I will refuse it until it's the actual reality that I am forced to take.
They currently sit 29th. You want to know the teams that sit below them? You might throw up a little bit in your mouth. The New York Jets average 32. The Miami Dolphins average 33. Shout out Minkah Fitzpatrick. And the Chicago Bears average 39.5 points per game, which that, my friend, should have everybody without a job. That is just disgusting. That is just disgusting. I agree with you. The one thing about all the teams that I just mentioned is they are not nearly as good as the Pittsburgh Steelers. The other side of that is, yikes. Things have not looked good so far. They are 29th, a long way to climb. Here's your fourth and your final from me. Mike Tomlin may never be. His seat's so cold, it's crazy, dude. It's like he's sitting on ice. It's like this man was born in Alaska and has not left since he got hired by the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, is he ever going to be on the hot seat? Only Art Rooney knows. He's the only guy in the whole world that would ever know if Mike Tomlin's ever going to be on the hot seat. What's more likely? Tomlin has his first losing season in 2025 behind the best defense he's had in years on paper and the best quarterback he's had in years, period. Because I don't care what you say about the performance of Aaron Rodgers. It's better than Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields. It just is. Or the Steelers find themselves competing for the AFC North by the end of the season. They are currently a half game back from the Cincinnati Joe Burrow-less Bengals, tied with the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, Lord. There's no reality to me where Mike Tomlin ever hits this losing season hot seat immediately. It's just, as much as I have this pessimism about so many other things happening right now, the Steelers do be doing what the Steelers do. They have winning seasons. Mike Tomlin leads this team to the playoffs. I think the Bengals just get hit with this massive injury to their star quarterback. The Ravens have had already some trials to start the year, let's call it. I think it's more likely that the Steelers are going to find their way into the AFC North division title conversation amongst the ranks. Again, if this thing goes completely down the toilet, this is just a catastrophically bad season that no one saw coming. And I don't even want to start talking about oh yeah, we should have seen it. We should have known all along.
There's no seeing nothing.
Exactly. This is supposed to be a winning. We keep using the term all in for a reason. I think the Steelers are hopefully going to find their way. I cannot get myself to put the Steelers into the losing season Tomlin on the hot seat category yet. No way, especially not after week 2 of a season starting.
Look, I can't. You are spot on, my friend. Mike Tomlin doesn't have losing seasons. If this is the one, though, if this is the losing season somehow, somewhere, and I would not predict it, but if it was somehow, some way, do you think it's enough that this actually would put Tomlin on the hot seat?
Possibly. Yeah.
That's a perfect use of that word. Perfect use of that word.
I think it's possible. I just don't want to go there yet, but I don't.
I don't either. And we're not going to, but it would be wild. It would be a conversation. The first real conversation you could have to be like, wow, dude, this was the one. Maybe it was the explosion that everybody in Pittsburgh needed to get a little bit pissed off. Maybe that's what it was. All right. That's all I got for you on my 4-pack of what's more likely. We're going to take a quick break on the other side of it. We're going to start answering all your guys' questions. So toss them in the chat. We will be right back. What's up, AST Nation? I've teamed up with DraftKings. The next great touchdown is coming. You can bet on it. And the best way to do so is through DraftKings Sportsbooks, where new customers who bet $5 get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen. Then use your bonus bets to stay in on the action and bet on DraftKings same game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. And don't worry, if sports betting is not yet available in your state, you're fine. You can still join in on all of the fun with DraftKings daily fantasy sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Sign up using my promo code ALLSteelers and get in on the action. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Shout out our boys over at DraftKings. I'm 0-8. And into week 3, it's a rough time. It is a rough time. I think I have $4 left in my DraftKings account. I won't tell you guys how much I put in there at the beginning of the season. It's depleted quickly. I'm going to Ireland in a week. I can't be spending money like this, but we're going to do it. We got to turn that $4. You know what they say, dude? You got $4. You got an opportunity to retire young. So we're going to bet the house, and we're going to make sure that we win it this week. the problem with me in betting is that I tell this to everybody, like people will be like, what's your bets this week? My bets this week is that I watch the Pittsburgh Steelers every single day of the week. So Sunday rolls around and I go, dude, DK has looked ridiculous against some corner I don't remember the name of on the practice squad. That guy's about to catch 4 touchdowns easy. And then it doesn't happen. And I go, I forgot it was so and so. I'm not gonna slam somebody like that, but some guy that wouldn't even be on the team next week. It's not good. It's not good. Touch questions in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can before we head out of here. Shout out to our super chatters. Shout out to our members. We appreciate all you guys. Want to start with Rex 7. Rest easy. Rest in peace, Dale Lally. Rest in peace, Dale Lally. Man, it was an honor. Today's a tough day. But to be honest, it feels good to be doing this today because and we all kind of collectively said that today in the media room. Like it felt good to be there. Felt like that's what we needed to do. Felt like that's like the best thing that Dale was battling battles that we would, I pray nobody ever battles, and was still like, I'm gonna be on the radio. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do, like, the guy, absolute warrior, man. One of the best ever. Shout out to Dale. Nate's got more here. Prayers up to Dale Ollie and his family. Dude was a legend in SN radio. Steelers Nation radio. The drive was a happy place for me. Rest in peace to a great Yinzer for sure. I don't know what the plans are to all of that. But yeah, man, one of the greatest. I hope everybody over at SNR radio is doing well. I hope his family's doing well as well. ND Joe, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Gretzky, let TJ eat. You're already paying the man. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. At this point, it's look, you're hitting the point where if TJ doesn't look good every single week, it's not even on TJ. There's no conversation of like, was TJ worth the money? It's directed so closely to why is your head coach not using the guy that you paid all this money for? You know what I mean? Like, that's where it's going to go. People are not going to get mad at TJ Watt for teams being able to run to the other side of him, but when they run to his side, he shuts them down. They're going to get mad at Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin for allowing the other side to happen. And like, you got to fix it. Again, maybe you're not gonna, but you gotta fix it. Your thoughts on good old ND Joe with a great comment here.
Great comment. Yeah, it feels like banging your head against like a brick wall by just refusing to try anything else. I understand the very, very simple response that you can make is, well, if you put TJ on the right side of the line of scrimmage, teams will just start running to the left. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Maybe that doesn't go as well though, because the only thing we've seen is them go the opposite way where TJ is, to the right, and
Yes.
it's been with great success. So I don't understand why. Maybe it's not as simple as just swapping them over to the other side, but there's probably some solution in there that isn't just continuing to have him play only lining up left of center, attacking the tackle, and that's it. God forbid I see this man go through a B gap. God forbid.
Dude, he lines up there, and then by the time they snap the football, he's on the outside. I'm going, what are we doing? Why do we not? Why is it so limited? Why is everything so? There's no gray area in the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Create gray, brother. Create some gray, Mike Tomlin. That's all we ask. Lindsay, is Jabril Peppers playing this week? I'd imagine Jabril Peppers plays this week. I think he's going to be on the field. I honestly think he's going to be on the field quite a bit. I think he's going to be it's going to be a lot of Jabril Peppers against his former team. Is there a piece of you that's worried or more excited, I'll ask, that Jabril is going to be probably a little bit rambunctious against New England, to the point, you know what I mean? Like, when guys get a little bit too hyped up for their former team for that revenge game. Are you nervous or more excited for it?
I'm just excited for it because the Steelers need that spark. They need that energy. I would rather see them go down swinging with a rambunctious version of Jabril Peppers than being like a very timid, not, dangerous version of themselves like we've kind of seen them be the last couple of weeks. So if it takes Jabril Peppers maybe, doing something a little crazy. I'm not advocating for penalties or costing the team, by giving up dumb penalties or something like that. But if
Mhm.
he's able to kickstart that energy, we've seen the defense and the players within that locker room time and time again say, if someone gets that energy started, we pick up that momentum and kind of ride with it. Sometimes it's Jalen Ramsey getting chippy against some players. Sometimes it's a turnover. Might be Jabril Peppers, just doing his thing, playing against his former team. Makes me very excited. No need to be nervous about it.
No, I love revenge games. I love guys that are fired up. I love physical guys that are fired up. You know what I mean? Like Jabril Peppers is the type of guy that hits you. That's what he's not looking for interceptions. He's looking for somebody to lose a head. And that's the type of football that in these games gets you really fired up for what's to come, for sure. I agree. Cody Silva, stack the opposite side of TJ Watt with people like, okay, I'll ask that question because that's that's part of this too. Is there an element of you that's like, what's going on with Alex Highsmith and his effectiveness, or what do you think it all had to do with him getting injured? And do you think that Nick Herbig's enough? Like, you can't just line 17 people up over there, but at the same time, like Cam should be enough. And whoever's on the outside, like you have good outside linebackers that should be enough. Like, you could talk TJ all day. What's happening on the other side that is not working? Or whose fault is it that it's not working? I should ask.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's one person's fault. That's why I mentioned like earlier, like they seem to there has been some attempt, let's call it, to find some balance when it comes to stopping the run because you have players like Cam Hayward and Alex Highsmith lined up on right of center. You have TJ Watt on left of center. So you have, what should be enough to stop it. But like Cam Hayward has been not the player getting pushed back at the line of scrimmage, but that isn't true of the rest of what's happening at the line of scrimmage. Like, so I don't know if it's one person to blame explicitly, at least in my opinion. I don't think it's not just Keanu Benton who needs to be better, but it's
Yeah.
not just his failures that are costing them in the run game. But I think this just goes to show, as we've been talking about throughout this whole episode, like if you're going to get creative and move TJ around, you have to also then acknowledge that you must be creative in other parts to make up for it. Because again, if you have Cam Hayward and TJ Watt as your only run stuffing options, you
Yeah.
can't just have them playing right next to each other because teams will figure them out so quickly like they already have. You have to find balance, and that comes with trying new things and getting creative in a way that the Steelers have just not shown a willingness to, an adjustment level that they have just not shown an eagerness to embrace. So
No.
they're just going to try to. I'm just saying this right now. TJ Watt's not going to line up on right of center against the New England Patriots. It's
No.
not going to happen. We could talk
No.
about how it would be nice, but he's going to line up 96% of the time on left of center, and he's going to attack the tackle from the outside and try to get home. And if it works, great. We're sitting here Monday going, he figured it out, $41 million man. But until that happens, it just feels like a frustrating, sort of dizzying thing.
Tam's got a perfect follow-up to this. Hey, guys, I'm curious to know if all of these make sense solutions ever get to the right people and are actually considered. I'm going to be very straightforward with you here, Tam. Mike Tomlin has never once listened to this show. He never will in his life listen to this show. He does not care what me, you, our dads, uncles, cousins, the guy down the road, your mailman, doesn't matter. We could all see it. We could all chant it. We could walk up to his car, scream it through the window, write him a note, mail it to his house, staple it to his forehead. Doesn't matter. He's not listening to a word that any of us say when it comes to this. So the answer, like the crazy answer is no. Like, and I don't know how crazy that is. I think a lot of things like, if you listen to everything that every fan and media and analyst had to say, 95% of it would be terrible advice. But I do think some of it's like, man, how do we see this and nobody else does? How is that a thing? At the same time, these guys have I would never have a winning season in the NFL. Never. I would lose every game. I would be 0-6. You could give me the greatest roster ever. I'd lose every game without question. I'd have no idea how to do anything. So they know things we don't. But that means the answer to this is no. They never once have any idea what we're thinking. It's just part of it, man. And it stinks. It definitely stinks. But again, if they listen to us, I think a lot of times they'd be worse. Chris here. Guys, I am tired of Tomlinisms and watching Steelers teams playing with no emotion or passion. We need Hines Ward and Polamalu to motivate these guys. I don't know what – I mean, like, yeah, hitting-wise for sure. I'd put James Harrison out there and just be like, hey, dude, just show up for one practice. You're still physical enough to scare some people, so it probably works. And you're terrifying. So I just think I think it'd be it. I think it'd be it. Or Ben. To be like very honest with you want to know who I think fixes a lot of things right now is having a Ben Roethlisberger out there to just say, like really think about it. Like even Ben at the end, and I get it. This is no disrespect to Aaron Rodgers. Even Ben at the end, man, he'd snap a leg in half to keep a game alive, you know, and then he'd go in the next drive because the game's not over. So he'd be one that I'd consider, not actually consider, but if we're naming guys that you'd be like, oh, this guy would get some juice going, I think Ben's one of them. I really truly do. But yeah, they do need somebody to motivate them. Thoughts on this?
Man, I think I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but like I think I said something about this yesterday even. So again, forgive me, but I just am like flabbergasted by this idea that people who are paid to be NFL athletes and like presumably want to be NFL athletes, like
Yes.
require motivation from something external. Like,
Yeah.
Like in order to become an NFL player, you have to be better than everyone, you know, just to get a shot. So like how once you get there do you become complacent so easily? Blows my mind. Like it just does. I said this is what I said yesterday. It was something along the lines of like it doesn't take Noah texting me in the morning or, you know, calling me about what we're going to talk about on the show for me to become interested in what I do. That's just part of the thing, you know. That's why I'm here. So I am constantly flabbergasted by this thing where it's like I understand leadership is key and like motivation, leadership by example can be so essential in an professional locker room, but like it to me, I'm just like, you guys know you're doing poorly. I don't think you need someone to tell you the right thing in the right way in order to really light that fire. If you can't find it yourself, you probably just don't have it.
Yeah. I look at, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And right now it's just, you're not the first person to say that either. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's wild to me. Cody Silva, we are going to play Carson Wentz and his redhead pot of gold in Ireland. If that's not bad luck, I don't know what is. Also, Noah, a bet against your gut. Oh yeah, every time, dude. I should always. Yeah. It's not even my gut, dude. It's just dumb ideas in my head. It's not a gut feeling. There's no guts about it. It's me thinking I am outsmarting the NFL when I am not outsmarting the NFL. It's me going, dude, I've been at practice all week, man. They've thrown this pass to Rodney Williams, the fourth string tight end from 5 years ago, 6 times. I know they're going to do it in the game. And then they don't. And I go, the hell was that? Why did I just bet $40 on Rodney Williams anytime touchdown for nothing? What are we doing here? And, you know, sometimes I'll tell you the one time, shout out to Bo Marciani, who was on this show when you were exploring Europe, when you were out there doing your Portugal stuff. Me and him one time sat next to each other in the press box. Rodney Williams was called up. He's a great dude. Shout out Rodney. Had an anytime touchdown of like plus 25,000. It was ridiculous how big this number is. And we were just like, screw it. You gotta, you know what I mean? Like rule of thumb, anything over 10,000, you bet it. You just do it. We put $5 down because we said, if it's going to hit, we're retiring. You know what I mean? Like we're taking a week off. We're going to go to Hawaii. It doesn't matter. We bet it. Rodney Williams, Miles Killebrew blocks a punt on the 5-yard line. It bounces into the end zone. Rodney Williams scoops it up as it's going out the back of the end zone. 1 foot down, the other foot, toe right on the white line, dude. It was the only time. You are not allowed to cheer. You are not allowed to show any emotion in the press box. It is a strictly business area. It is the only time I have ever let that slip. I was like, oh my God. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It was bad. It was bad. And I told Rodney after the game, and he apologized that he couldn't get his foot down. And I told him that I would have given him at least $5. You know what I mean? I would have given him at least a part of the winning, not all of it. So shout out my guy. Shout out Cody Silva. Chris, guys, do we think we could have traded for Micah Parsons if we had offered Highsmith the first and a third? Would that have worked? Thoughts? What do they get for him? 2 firsts. I think it would have worked.
2 firsts. Well, no,
I mean, if
Jerry
Green
said
Bay
they needed.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was, excuse me for interrupting, my friend.
No,
I was
you're
just
right.
going to say,
Go ahead.
Jerry Jones said they wanted defensive line help. You know, he got out of the Doug Dimmadome mobile and he had his hat going up and he said, we need that defensive line help. And he said, that's what we need. And so I don't think Alex Highsmith would have gotten the job done at all. You know, but I do think I think there was probably a world where the Steelers could have acquired Micah Parsons. Surely,
Yeah,
like they would have had, they could have parted with someone like a Keanu Benton, or they could have parted with someone, you know, like totally unproven. And I don't think you trade rookies, but like YA Black or something like that, and you use all this stockpile of draft picks that you've already accumulated to make that trade happen. So I think there's a world, Chris, to answer your question, where it could have happened. I'm not sure if that particular trade package you propose is what would have gotten it done, because Jerry said they needed that defensive line help.
Yeah, you also need to offer up 2 first-round picks. Kenny Clark's no joke. So if you can match that plus do a little, if you can match Green Bay, they'd send him to Pittsburgh over Green Bay because that's an AFC team. Would the Steelers have paid him $47 million? No, because TJ Watt would have been so pissed off. It would have been an immediate holdout by TJ Watt. Immediate. It would have been like, oh, I'm actually no longer showing up. Thanks. Sorry. I thought we were good until we weren't. My bad. But this is a good idea, Chris. Rec 7. Jaylen Warren needs Bucky Irving-esque usage, period. He does. Like, I'm not going to, like, you just got to put him out there. Like, just let him run the football. Like, what do we just let him run the football as much as possible, you know, and see what, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does work, who would have thought? Who would have thought that a guy who needs reps to gain momentum would gain momentum with reps? I mean, crazy. Yeah, he should be getting.
It boggles the mind.
You need it. He should be touching the football 17 to 25 times a game. That's what he should be doing. And I don't feel bad about that number whatsoever. Tam,
agreed.
What about channeled through players? Damn, Bray, I'm blanking on this one. It's got to be in reference to the other question, and we're gonna find it.
Channeled through players.
Hey guys, I'm curious to know if all these make sense solutions. Channels. We're journalists. This is what we do. Look at the players do. At the end of the day, the players have ideas, but the player, like, I promise you that, like, these guys are not walking into meetings going, I'm smarter than you and you're going to listen to me. It's just, unless it's, sometimes that's the case, those players don't last very long. So, like, you hear the phrase, that's above my pay grade all the time in the NFL. And that is because it truly is above their pay grade. And they're not willing to take that risk to say things like that, if that makes sense. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think there is I would liken it to sort of how you have to, like, mind what you say in an office setting. You know, you got to be careful of, like, how you criticize certain things. And if you have issues with what's going on with, like, your work assignments, you bring them to the right people. You can't just be bashing the boss. Otherwise, there might be some issues down the line. So, like, it feels very similar to that, where it's like, they're aware, they're humans, they're the ones executing these things on the field. Most of them have social media in some capacity, whether it's them or some other form, you know, so they see and hear what's being said, and they see what's happening around the league. Like, they have opinions there. It's like asking, you know, an electrician if he has opinions about how things should be installed, you know, like, of course he does. But does that mean that you go ahead and, you know, forfeit what you're doing and your place in the organization and your livelihood just to make your opinion be known in that moment. Yeah, it's a balance and it's a battle that I think a lot of players just choose not to even enter into because they just don't want to deal with the repercussions.
No.
And I
Rec
get that.
7.
I get it.
Oh, 100%. 100%. If you came to me and said, no, your ideas are stupid, I'd say, let's talk it out because, you know, I'm a great listener. But I would also
That's actually
feel
true. That's actually quite true.
in the NFL, you'd be fired. So there it is. Rec 7. We going AB jersey for the tailgate, Joey Porter Jr. for the game. It's going to be my first Steelers game. Shout out my guy. And my 28th birthday is on the 19th. Shout out my guy again. I'll be in the words of Shazam. Do you know this guy? Do you know the name?
He's a fighter, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't pronounce that.
No chance. No. Schmeshed. Hope to see y'all. If this is this weekend, my guy, enjoy it. Have a great time. It's a good game to go to. Gillette Stadium, as historic as they come. My dude, I hope you enjoy it. I try to make my way through the tailgates, like as I'm walking, doing the walkover video. So if I catch you, if you catch me, make sure you say what's good. If not, make sure you say what's good. You know what I'm saying? Come find me. But I appreciate you. I hope you have a great time, my dude. I hope you have a great, great time. Chris, Jacob, I agree. They should play hard as professionals, but these guys are zombies that barely have a pulse. I think Rooney to step up and do something. There's nothing. Like, I hear you. I agree with this. Rooney is, but like, do you think Rooney would do? Like, what is there to do if you're Art Rooney? Like, does Rooney have anything to do? Any button to push?
No, he just keeps cycling on that exercise bike, man. Like that's all he can do.
Does, dude.
Like,
shout out to our Rooney, bro.
And it's
always
like
on his like
shout out. That is like legit the coolest thing I've ever seen. That man could just like snap.
Dude, for anybody who hasn't heard this story or doesn't know the situation, Art Rooney watches practice. Shout out to Mr. Rooney, man. That man's incredible. I appreciate everything he's ever done for me and for Jacob. Like all love. And this is all in love. This man rides his stationary bike outside as he watches practice every day and reads our stories 3 feet from us as he's doing it. And all I'm thinking is like, I talked so much smack on this team, dude. What are you reading? Are you on my story? Should I go home now? Like, what are we doing? It's such a terrifying moment when he pulls out that paper. But yeah, man, they don't have. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but they don't have.
No,
like I don't think Rooney's got anything to do.
I agree, buddy. I do, and yeah, no, it was not poking fun at this. The great Art Rooney.
Never.
It's incredible. And whenever he passes by me, and I get to say, "How you doing, Mr. Rooney?" It is truly like the privilege of a lifetime to be able to have said that at all. And when I got to tell my dad about it, he was also very impressed. So
yeah.
It's not about that. But I just think there's very limited, like, he can't suspend their game checks. He can't, like, you know what I mean? Like, what's he going to do? Fire everybody? Still got to put a team out the next week. Like, there is very little actual leverage he holds once contracts are signed. There's a whole players association that backs the players as well. Like, you just got to kind of put up with it, find a good balance, and hope that the relationships are so positive from the top down, including the locker room, the players, executives, etc., that you're able to work out any issues or poor starts like the Steelers are going through. Because you can't just like roll with an iron fist and be like, you better show up and play better or you're all cut, because that's just not true. Then it won't happen.
That's Jerry Jones to a T.
That's
Jerry Jones to a T.
Well, yeah. But it still means like Micah Parsons still got what he wanted. Like it just wasn't in Dallas.
Nope. Exactly. Exactly. It doesn't work. Owners have to be owners, and at the end of the day, that's where they stand. Leroy, move Cam to nose tackle and keep Keanu Benton. Black Benton Harmon on the defensive end spots. Even consider standing TJ Watt up. I agree with all this. I don't know if I think I like Cam on the outs on the 3 tech. I'm putting YA Black in the middle, man. That's It's my easy solution to this situation is I'm putting Y Black in the middle, Keanu Benton at a defensive end spot, and I'm feeling a lot better about how my entire defensive line looks. I know they don't want to start him, but I don't think it hurts Benton. I think you're hurting Benton more when the guy can't take on double teams because he's not built for it. It's nothing against Keanu Benton. It's everything against just the position. I like Cam there, but I think you're removing Cam, which is a significant part of your defense. I'd put Y.E. Black there and let Keanu Benton, once Derek Harmon comes back, come off the bench and be that rotational piece. That's what I would do.
Love it. I'm down for that.
Chris, guys, you guys are the new GM and coach of the Steelers. Who gets fired, moved, or benched? Ooh, what changes need to be made to right the ship? I'm changing nose tackle. That's the only thing I'm changing. It's the only thing I'm changing right now. I'm giving Roman Wilson more snaps. Yeah, what else are you doing?
I'm putting Jabril Peppers like in the starting lineup immediately.
Yep.
Like there's just no yeah. But I think you had that. You had that in the chamber. I gotcha.
Yeah.
I think there's some patience is good, and I like that. Losing can be very good. Like I don't think that it is inherently the end of their season because they get beat by a very beatable Seattle Seahawks team, but like exposing these flaws is really important and can be a really good thing because they can improve on them. So I think you got to make some small adjustments. You have to see if these other guys that you have available and at your disposal are going to have a bigger impact. And then beyond that, you have to just kind of let this thing, let this level, let this water find its level. Excuse me. Good Lord, get it out. But once that happens, I think that will be okay. But you can't just like throw everything out to try and get a better result. There's something in here that can work, but you have to find the right little tinker, and it'll get there.
I think that's exactly it. Like the Steelers roster is built, ready, and set. I'm playing Jabril Peppers. I'm playing Y.E. Black in the nose. And then I'm just hoping everything else works out for right now because I'm not benching Jalen Ramsey. I'm not benching Calvin Austin, DK Metcalf. I'm just hoping that it works out. That's exactly what I'm doing here. Hurt at practice as we round out these last couple here. What's more likely, the Steelers have their first losing season or the serial killer misses 6 field goals this year? I think the easy answer to this one is as bad as it is, and I think it's neither. I think the answer is neither. But the Steelers, if Chris Boswell misses 6 field goals this year, he's kicked 100 field goals. You know what I mean? And he's still got a 94% kick percentage on the season, and that's about it. But otherwise, Steelers lose 9 games. That's what happens because Chris Boswell don't miss like that. He just don't miss like that.
He does not miss. He does not. I've been trying to think of a good. I didn't think of it in time. Forgive me, but I'm trying to think of a good serial killer moniker that can be then used for Chris Boswell. Like my first thought was like the BTK killer, but I'm like, I can't like Boswell TK killer. But
that's a good one.
No, I can't do that. Can't do that. But
it's also something maybe.
One. Yeah.
Of all the serial killers, Chris, but Chris Boswell is way cooler than There's been some crazy serial killers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's I'll think on it. We'll think on it some more. Yeah.
This is just some douchebag in Kansas or whatever. You know what I mean? Nobody even unless you watch some crazy podcast, you don't even know about him. You know what I mean? Loser, absolute loser. No. Boswell's stud. Ryan, if the emphasis of the league wasn't on the offensive side of the ball, the Steelers defense and many others would be dominant again. I think the Steelers defense could still be dominant as long as they show up to play. They're I believe 30th, 28th or something like that in missed tackles this season. Like if they actually play well, I think they could be dominant. I think that's like a real thing. I think they have the pieces. It's just not they just got to play better. It's not like everybody's old and slow. They're just not tackling or making plays. That's my take. That's my 2 cents on the matter.
Well, I mean, the missed tackle thing feels very telling because they were, I want to say, in the top 3 or 4 of tackling. Like, they did not miss a lot of
Yes.
tackles. Deshaun Elliott was actually the best tackler in the NFL last year in terms of missed tackle rate. Like, he made the tackle. Absolute stud. So that's like one of those things where I'm like, that feels like something where they could level things out. They could find a balance there. It might just be getting into a groove of things, getting through the first couple of weeks of the season and then finding it. So, I'm hoping that's like an indicator there that kind of points to this team finding that better side of the defensive thing. But for right now, like if it's all said and done, I take some issue with Ryan's statement because if you build a defense that is not adequately built to stop the offenses you're playing in the sport you're playing,
Yes.
it doesn't matter what it would have done in the 70s or 80s or 90s or 2000s. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not a good defense for right now, and that's the goal. So I hope that's not the case.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree. When does Derek Harmon come back? I don't think he's going to play this week, potentially next week. He did practice, I believe, in a limited capacity today, which is a step forward. Hopefully he's on the field by Dublin, and we'll finish it off with Drew Wall. Big Ben does 2 or 3 beers an episode. Could Jacob do 1 or 2 sodas an episode? Drew, for the health of my co-host and my good buddy Jacob, I will not support. He can do what he wants. He's a grown man, but I will not support drinking 2 sodas in an hour-long episode. That feels like a lot of zero. I don't care how little sugar is in that 17 flavor Sprite. It's a lot there. So there's too much going on for me to feel like that's a healthy beverage if you're drinking 2 a day, 5 days a week in an hour-long episode. The man doesn't drink coffee. He starts his day with a Dr. Pepper. So, this isn't
so
true. What soda are we on right now? What's the soda count for right now? It's 5:08 in the afternoon.
This is my second soda of the day. I try to be very diligent about only consuming 2. I have to have one as soon as I wake up. Otherwise, I will be a miserable little biatch. But afterwards, I try to not have another one for as long as possible. And I've been really good about waiting until we get onto the podcast to have one. It's like a little treat for Jacob.
That's a beautiful time. I feel that way. This is coffee number 4. It's 5:08 in the afternoon. There's like a 50% chance I'll have 5. I try to keep it to 3. I would say 60-40. I win that battle. You know what I mean? 60% of the time I lose, 40% of the time I win. But those 3 days out of the week, I feel pretty good about my 3 cups of coffee. Shout out the espresso machine in my kitchen. ND Joe. We'll finish it off with this one. How about Three Rivers Killer, a playoff of the Green River Killer in Washington State in the 80s and 90s? ND Joe, brother. Thank you. My man did it. My man
Awesome.
Did it. That was a great one. The Three Rivers Killer. I might pitch it to him. I'm going to say it to Tom. They got to win, but I'll say it to Tomlin at some point, during this week. Or maybe, let's let them win. After they win, I'm going to pitch it to Tomlin. I'm going to be like, yo, here's a one for Chris Boswell, and I'll do it behind the curtain. So when they drop it, ND Joe, it came from you. It came from you. All right. Shout out my guy. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you. No, that's a lot. Look at guys. I got to stay caffeinated up, brother. All right. I understand what's going on, but the day I got no excuses. Okay. I'm a caffeinated guy. It's an addiction. It'd be what it be. I got no words, man. I will say that I'm a budgeted guy. I'm a really budgeted guy. Like I have to I have like a certain, everybody's like, oh, I have this much money to spend in a month. I'm like, I have this much money to spend in a day. And every day is calculated for at least 1 iced coffee. And at least I know exactly that I'm going to spend at least $7 of those dollars on a coffee. That's at least going to happen. They know my order at the coffee shop down the street. That was a goal. That was a dream of mine. You know what I mean? Growing up as a young journalist, you want to know what you wanted? You wanted a coffee shop that you walked into and they knew what you were going to have. And it took a caffeine addiction, but we got there. We got there.
We got it.
We got there. Shout out my guys. Appreciate the concern for sure. Love you guys. With that said, I'm heading out of here. We're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. With that said, we'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg.